G'day, it's John O'Brake here from The Forge Leader with Monday Myth Check, that weekly dose of reality around understanding common words, common sayings, common phrases that we hear in business that whilst on the surface they may appear true, they might even appear motivational and good, they're not always right. And this week, we're going to talk about the customer is always right. Now, straight away, if you've been in business for a while, you'll know, no, there's no way the customer is always right. Now, we've got to understand one thing here. The customer is king. The customer is the reason we exist. Call them a client, call them whatever you want. But the customer is king, okay? We don't have a business if they're not paying the bills. We have to provide the right service. We have to be loyal to them. We have to, create them in the first place. But they're not always right. So when a king is not right, what do you got to do? You got to figure out how to tell the king they're wrong. And if you take that analogy even further, you've got to figure out how to tell the king they're wrong without getting your head knocked off. So let's have a look at 5 or 6 things that you reinforce if you tell your team, well, the customer's always right. Okay, the first one is you're taking the side of the customer over your team. Okay, if you've got the right team in place, if you've developed that team yourself and you're proud of that team and you believe in them and you back them, by telling them the customer's always right, you're no longer backing them. Okay, so if they have an interaction with the customer that's not healthy, whatever it might be, then you've got to understand that you backing the customer first is sending a signal that you don't trust your team. So you're going to see a reduction in team morale. I think one of the other things to think about when we start thinking about the customer always being right is that it can hinder accountability. Okay, we're all about holding our team accountable, making sure people follow through with the things they say they'll do. But what about our customers? It's actually good and right to hold your customers accountable to outcomes. You hold them accountable if they don't pay the bill, right? I mean, well, hopefully you do. Not a lot of businesses that don't, but you hold them accountable to that. So why not hold them accountable to the actions? I know other people in my field, coaches, for example, who won't let people come into their coaching session if they haven't done the homework. I think there's a really interesting aspect of accountability there that we've got to really understand. And so I think, that kind of plays into the customers that keep misbehaving. It also plays into the fact that not all customers are ideal customers. One of the most liberating things sometimes you can do is actually let a customer go. And that is not just something you do just because they frustrate you or whatever in that moment, but it's that consistent behavior, maybe consistent breaches of values. By the way, your values need to matter to your customer as well. And so those consistent breaches can often leave us in that place where it's like, I don't know, constantly back the customer, or we're constantly afraid of pleasing the customer and the customer always being right. We can actually kill innovation. Now, that's an internal and an external issue, really. Internally, it's like, well, we're no longer innovating, we're no longer improving, we just keep doing what we're doing because it works. It ain't broke, don't fix it. Terrible analogy. Maybe I should add that to the Monday Myth Check. But if we just keep going down that track, we're going to discourage innovation, we're going to discourage team building, we're going to discourage growth in our own business. But by the way, we're actually going to discourage it in our client as well, and that's not doing them a good service. And again, we might get a bit concerned, well, what if they pay the bill and all that sort of thing? But that's a genuine concern. And so, but I think lastly, by putting the customer in a position where you feel they're always right, is that you create unrealistic expectations is probably the best way to put it. So when we talk about unrealistic expectations, they're always thinking you're going to bend over backwards for them. You're going to provide all this service, all these different things, maybe stuff they haven't paid for, but you just couldn't say no anyway. So all those sorts of things are very, very important. So understanding that's another challenge in terms of the customer always being right versus the customer being king. Okay, so let's look at the action items. First of all, we already talked about, okay, so where can I look at where I might have overstepped the boundary with a customer? I might have given them too much. I might have created a culture where they can just ask for anything and I'll keep saying yes. You need to honestly take stock of those. Then I want you to think about, okay, so if I was to change this story a little bit, if I was to work through a process where I can show the customer they're pushing that boundary, or I can show the customer they're flat out wrong, how will you go about doing it? Don't just tell them that, because they've gotten used to a certain level of service from you. So make sure you make a plan to really deal with the customer. And then if you have a reputation amongst your team for pushing the team at the expense of the team to satisfy the customer, and again, you need that feedback. I want you to get that feedback, and I want you to figure out how you can do this. Now, sometimes that can just be a straight up going to your customer and saying, look, we've provided all these things for so long now. Either we need to up our price so we can have other people serving, or we need to cut back on how we're serving you without compromising that quality. So there's 3 things to think about there in terms of how you can take action. And what you want to end up doing is, in the best way possible, you want to encourage your customer to behave. You want to encourage your customer to get the best service from you. You want to encourage your customer to be able to be successful at whatever it is they're doing and whatever matters to you, and that relationship that drew you together in the first place. Go back to there, keep it simple, keep it controlled, and then move forward. If you want to learn more about this and more about customer service and how we can help, the Forge Mentor, which is has now launched and opened its doors. Part of that process, as you develop your strategy, you develop your tactics, you'll figure out how to provide great customer service as well, and come in and learn from how other business owners and business leaders do that. We'd love to have you involved in the community. Come and join. The link will be on the screen. I'm John O'Brake. As always, enjoy the journey.